वेलकम एवरीवन टू द डेली न्यूज एनालिसिस ऑफ 23 फरवरी 2024। तो आज के इंपॉर्टेंट आर्टिकल हिंदी न्यूज पेपर से वन बाय वन डिस्कस कर लेते हैं। पहला जो है इंडिया है ब्रिजिंग पावर इन मेनी वेज जयशंकर। देन द नेक्स्ट फ्रंटियर इन ए टफ वर्ल्ड, द बीएकन ऑफ यूके इंडिया स्ट्रेटेजिक टाइज, should India have regional benches of Supreme Court? Then are Interpol's notices being politically exploited? तो पहला आर्टिकल है इन ए ब्रिजिंग पावर इन मेनी वेज जयशंकर। India is a bridging power in many ways, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said on Thursday while stating that multilateralism would exist side by side with the national interest in the regard. He stated that just after independence, India put trust in multilateralism and took the Kashmir aggression issue to the United Nations and other made it into an assess on issues for geopolitical reasons. Very literally, in our first year of independence, we put our trust on multilateralism and took the Kashmir aggression issue to the United Nations and other made it into an assess on issues, and they did it for the geopolitical reasons. The fact is that if you say they are playing multilateralism, they always did. We have grown up, Mr. Jaishankar said during the Raisana dialogue jointly organized by the Ministry of External Affairs and the Observer Researcher Foundation. He was speaking in a panel themed as Tapestry of Truth. Can the two hemispheres agree? Along with his counterpart from the Netherlands, Henke Yusuf, Henke Bruinslot and January Yusuf Makamba from Tanzania, George Kuiroja, former President Bolivia, and Anwar bin Mohammed Gargas, diplomatic advisors to the President of UAE. Further, Mr. Jaishankar said multilateralism will exist side by side with national interest with the calculation and competition, but I also agree that there is a place for sentiment for solidarity at different levels. We should not make it exclusive. India can also help the world by offering solutions from our own examples, and digital would be the most appropriate. Calling India a bridging power, he said, whether it is COVID or today's regional conflict, people would see India as a relatively objective and unbiased, at least to the extent we can get common ground. We should strive for the common ground, even though it will never be perfect, he said. The next article is the next frontier. Government must keep the regulatory environment of space sector clear. Space used to be the final frontier, but its increasing exploitation has changed that, replacing a romantic notion with narratives with financial, socio-economic, and geopolitical implications. Space technologies and space flight are expensive, risky endeavors that only national agencies were suited to engage in for decades. This is no longer true as private sector players are increasingly expected to complement argument and or lead the way by identifying market opportunities and innovating rapidly. India started on this path in 2020 with the state-led reforms that opened its space sector to private companies, then releasing the geospatial guidelines and later, the Indian Space Policy, creating the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorizations Center in Space, and passing the Telecommunications Act 2023, that, among other departures from the Indian Telegraph Act 1885, provided for the satellite broadband services on February 21. The government opened the door to 100% FDI in the manufacturing of components and systems, subsystems for the satellite ground segments and user segment, up to 74% in the satellite manufacturing operations and the data products, and up to 49% in launch vehicles, spaceports, and their corresponding systems. As such, by stepping out of the way and allowing substantial FDI via the automatic route, the government has taken the logical next step in the exploring the contributions of private space flight operators, technology developers, and application designers to the national space economy in line with ambitious outline in the space policy. The decision gives India the ability to take advantages of its less vitiated foreign ties to catch up with China's more advanced position as a space power, while the Chinese program benefits from not inconsiderable private sector participation. Its ability to attract foreign investment is hamstrung by its belligerent foreign policies and the Xi Jinping administration's plan to modernize the military by, among other things, adapting civilian technology for military use through though other countries, including the US, have similar policies. According to InSpace chairman Pawan K. Goenka, a significant slice of the $37.1 billion that the space sector raised worldwide in 21-23 went to space startups. Against this extended backdrop, new investment can add to India's space economy by improving startups' access to talent and capital, affecting a better balance between the upstream and downstream opportunities versus the current skew in favor of a farmer, boosting local manufacturing and improving investors' confidence. Finally, to sustain these winds of change, the government must keep the regularly environment clear, reduce red tape, increase public support, and ease Indian companies' ability to access foreign markets. The next article, in a tough world, the beacon of UK-India strategic ties. Outward facing mercantile and modern societies, our nation, the United Kingdom and India have much in common. Although separated by thousands of miles, we are inherently connected by ocean. The world's great global commons, the trade in food and goods underwrites our mutual prosperity, supporting the lives and livelihoods of so many. Global trade is predominantly a maritime activity, and this remains a fundamental truth in the information age too. But today, our reliance on the maritime is only increasing with the recognition that the data supporting only online banking and capital flows also moves via underwater cables. Both our national and maritime strategies are inescapably intertwined. Our nations need to secure and make free from aggressions and exploitation the global lifelines of goods and resources that flow across the seas and on which our economies rely. But the norms of behavior upon the seas, norms which have enabled globalization to flourish, and the wider rules based international order of which they are a part are all increasingly under threat from the Black Sea to the Red Sea to the South China Sea. Operation Prosperity Guardian. Instability, conflict, and aggressive and threatening actions are impacting not only those who seek to work in or pass through these waters, but also the international community. Local actions are having global ramifications affecting the movement of goods and food that are vital for life and livelihoods. It is why in December 2023, the United Kingdom, the United States, and other partners joined in Operations Prosperity Guardian to defend and protect commercial shipping in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. The Houthi attacks are indiscriminate and putting at the risk lives of innocent seafarers who seek to make their livelihoods at sea. In doing so, the Houthis are risking the stability of the very maritime trade routes that supply food and aid to Yemen and are the lifeblood of all our economies. I am pleased that we are working alongside the Indian Navy to address these threats to the free movement of global trade. The Houthis' use of violence in pursuit of their objective has an obvious synergy with Russia's illegal war in Ukraine. The UK has supported Ukraine continuously and will provide a 2.5 billion pound in military aid in 24-25, making for a total of almost 12 billion in the military, humanitarian, and financial support to Ukraine since 2022. We will remain steadfastly by their side until they prevail in this unstable, more uncertain age. The need to invest in our strategic relationship is clearer than ever. I am heartened, therefore, by the great strides by the UK and the India making together a shift in the center of gravity of the global economy is already under the way, and by 2050 it will still sit firmly in the Indo-Asia Pacific. The UK's national prosperity is intrinsically linked to the international markets, and have a voice and a presence within them is essential. The establishment in 2023 of the UK tilt to the Indo-Asia Pacific as a permanent pillar of policy is therefore hugely welcome. The possibilities for the good prosperity cannot be understated, or and importance of the Indo-Asia Pacific is not just to United Kingdom, but to the world has never been clearer. Stronger defense ties, the rapid deepening of UK-India defense partnership has therefore been most welcome, and the levels of interaction between British and the Indian forces are higher than in many years. I have been particularly grateful for the leadership and the support of the Chief of the Indian Navy, Admiral R. Harikumar, since the visit of our Carrier Strike Group during its inaugural deployment in 2021. There has been have been a record number of UK ship visits, and the welcome, hospitality, and the support extended to them by the India has been excellent. They will be followed by our littoral strike group as it enters the Indo-Asia Pacific later this year to conduct training exercise and operation with our partners. The carrier strike group will be deployed again to the region in the 2050-25, and we are seeking opportunities to further build our shared UK and the Indian operational capabilities during this phase. Our defense industrial partnership is similarly going from the strength to strength, from the electric warship population to complex weaponry to jet engine. Our work collectively is helping to share understanding, knowledge, and expertise, and our military education ties 75 years in making are to be boosted this year with the officers from all three services of the Indian Armed Forces joining British services academics as instructors, sharing their experiences with future military leaders and gaining ones to bring back to India, all of which make us collectively stronger. History teaches us that strategies of isolationism or coercion have rarely produced strong coalitions. Rather, it is our friends, partners, and allies who will be our source of support and strength against the challenge that we face, and we will uphold the values that we champion. The rules-based international order has kept the peace for decades, and it is incumbent on us as like-minded proponent of peace and prosperity to continue to advocate for it in this even more unstable world. The UK is fortunate to have India as a good friend. The next article is should India have regional benches of Supreme Court? Recently, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Personal Public Grievances, Laws and Justice informed the Lok Sabha that the Law Minister has accepted its recommendation to establish regional benches of Supreme Court across India. However, it pointed out that the Apex Court has been consistently rejecting the idea, and that the matter is sub judice. Should India have regional benches of Supreme Court? Justice Govind Mathur and Sanjay Ghosh discussed this in a conversation moderated by Artika Bhumik edited exports a seminal 2011 study conducted by the legal scholar Nick Robinson showed that a majority of the cases before the Supreme Court are from high courts close to Delhi will the establishment of regional benches reduce such a geographical bias and make it easier for more Indian to access justice. Justice Govind Mathur. Initially, during my tenure as a judge, I used to be opposed to the idea of regional benches since it could lead to more divergent views and adversely affect our justice delivery system. However, now, after examining the issue from the eyes of the common man, I do feel that such benches are the need of the hour. People are less willing to accept arbitrary or unjust actions of the state and its agencies and are increasingly approaching courts of law. The outcomes of such cases demands further adjudications by the Supreme Court. It becomes partially impossible for people living in the states far away from Delhi to agitate their cause. It is easy to say that the presence of the litigant is not required in appellate forum, but the reality is that every litigant wishes to visit his lawyer and witness court proceedings involving his case. Sanjay Ghosh, while a majority of the cases filed in Supreme Court do arise from high courts close to Delhi, this imbalance will not be rectified by merely constituting regional benches. There is also a possibility of numerous frivolous petitions being filed with easier access to justice. Instead, a mechanism should be put in place to scrutinize the type of petition that are permitted to be admitted in the top court. The relative success of vital virtual hearings by court during the pandemic indicates that hybrid hearings could well be an alternative to regional benches. Do you think this could be a permanent solution, keeping in mind that judges can something be reluctant to entertain hybrid hearings? The steps taken by the judiciary since the onset of the pandemic to switch to virtual hearings are laudable. Further, the Chief Justice has also indicated that all courts should shift to the virtual hearing. However, even today, in many forums such as the Central Administrative Tribunal and National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission of India, virtual hearing facility is not used. Many judges also prefer lawyers to be physically present. Therefore, I feel that a mechanism should be put in place that allows preliminary and admissions hearing to take place virtually while final hearing are conducted physically. I don't think that hybrid hearing can be an effective alternative to regional benches. While the use of technology is good for justice, judicial administration, court management, and handling in cash flow, it is not a viable solution for judicial adjudications. The physical hearing of the cases helps to maintain objective with regard to the proposition advanced before the court. Judges are human beings and suffer from several human limitations. Our open court systems plays a vital role in ensuring that a judgment maintains the appropriate attitude and demeanor. The presence of lawyer and litigants in a courtroom also helps a judge to work without any fear or favor. Therefore, virtual court facilities should be used only in exceptional circumstances. A prominent piece for regional benches is that while such benches discharge appellate functions, the principal bench in Delhi can exclusively focus on constitutional matters. However, in an improved rate of disposal, the Supreme Court last year had more than 20 constitutional bench cases delivered judgments in at least 18 of those. Do you think such concerns are still valid? Last year, the Supreme Court witnessed a 31% of increase in the disposal of cases compared to 2022. However, such a disposal rate is negligible when compared to the total pendency of cases. A little more than 80,000 cases are currently pending adjudications, out of which 60,000 cases are civil. This cannot be alleviated only through usual methods and is highly dependent upon the efforts and efficiency efficiency of the Chief Justice. The establishment of regional benches will increase the number of judges as well as lawyers, resulting in much needed boost to our judicial system. I feel that irrespective of the tendency rate, India should take inspiration from France and implement a system comprising a separate court of appeal and a court of cassation, a proposal recommended by the Law Commission of India in its 95th and 29th report. A permanent appellate court along with several court of session should be established. The permanent appellate court, like in the US, should include nine of the senior most judges from the session court. It should sit in bank and hear only constitutional cases, while the cassation courts adjudicate upon appeals arising out of non-constitutional matter. At present, the Supreme Court is overburdened with matters such as transfer petition, arbitral appeals, etc., which it has no business hearing. It would be appropriate that instead a court of session cassation hears such matters. Opponents argue that regional benches are likely to contribute to growing body of conflicting precedents, resulting in increased litigation. Do you agree? If there is a separation of courts cassations from the permanent appellate court, the chances of conflicting discussion would be reduced, as the court of cassation would only apply the decisions of the permanent appellate court. But there are many maybe situations where there are divergent views of the court's cassations. In those circumstances, the permanent appellate court may resolve the conflict. I do not agree with with this view. Several high courts have more than one benches. Despite such a structure, there are only a few conflicting decisions nowadays. Technology has played a pivotal role in keeping judges updated, which helps to maintain uniformity in decision. From my experience, conflicting or divergent views result from the non-availability of effective assistance and sometimes due to lack of judicial discipline. Mr. Ghosh, do you think lawyers who cannot afford to relocate to Delhi are disproportionately impacted by the location of Supreme Court and often bear the brunt of missed opportunities? Yes, one of the biggest critics of having regional benches has been the Supreme Court bar. The setting up of regional benches would lead to balkanization of the Supreme Court. However, this would lead to a robust Supreme Court bar at the regional level. We had a similar opposition in Delhi when the judicial of the jurisdiction of the Hazari Court of this Hazari Court was divided into different district courts. However, 10-15 years down the line, we see a vibrant district bar in Saket, Rohini and Kakardoma, Karkadoma. The setting up of regional benches would also lead to greater opportunities and democratizations of the bar. It is a welcome step. At present, special leave petitions constitute over 90% of the Supreme Court's docket. Justice Mathur, does the remedy lie in the bringing about the reforms in high courts instead of establishing regional benches? For instance, should the Supreme Court only admit SLP where the concerned high court have granted certificates for the leave to appeal? Why only the high courts? The efficiency of all the courts needs to be improved. In the last 3 decades, although litigation has rapidly increased, we have not seen a proportionate increase in the number of judges. Further, the availability of adequate judicial infrastructure varies from the state to state. Even if the regional benches are established, certain exclusive powers of Supreme Court should be retained. Its original jurisdiction under Article 131, its advisory jurisdiction under Article 143, and its jurisdiction under Article 32 of the Constitution. While top court is needed, overburdened with SLP, it would not be correct to have seek leave from the concerned high courts or tribunal to even lodge an SLP. The next article जो लास्ट है आज का वो है Are Interpol notices being politically exploited? The International Criminal Police Organization, more commonly known as Interpol, comprising 194 member countries plays a crucial role as an information sharing network to enable national police forces to combat transnational crimes. Concerns have been raised about the misuse of Interpol's notice system, especially the issuance of blue corner notices, which are less scrutinized than their red corner notices. Critics argue that the countries often exploit existing protocol to target political refugees and descendants, which, while efforts have been made to address these questions, remain about striking a balance between between facilitating police cooperations and preventing misuse of this power tool. What is a blue corner notice? There are seven types of notices issued by the Interpol: red, yellow, blue, black, green, orange, and purple notices. A blue color corner notice, also known as an inquiry notice, allows police forces in member states to share critical crime related information such as obtaining a personal criminal record and a location and having his or her identity verified, among others. For instance, in January 2020, Interpol issued a blur corner notice to help locate fugitive self-styled gunman Nityananda. How does it differ for a red corner notice? A red corner notice is issued by a member state to arrest a wanted criminal through extraditions or any other similar lawful action. Such notices are issued against persons wanted by national jurisdiction for prosecution or to serve a sentence based on an arrest warrant or a court decision. This country is issuing the request need not to be home country of the fugitive. Interpol Act even on the request of a country where the alleged crime has been committed, while blue corner notices are issued prior to the filing of criminal charges. Red corner notices generally follow criminal convictions. The concerned individual can be stopped and arrested while traveling through a member state. There will also be other discriminatory consequences such as the close of bank accounts. However, Interpol cannot compel law enforcement authorities in any country to arrest the subject of a red corner notices, as the exercise of such power is entirely discretionary. In 2018, a red corner notice was issued against the fugitive billionaire Nirav Modi in relation to the Punjab National Bank scam. However, in October 2022, Interpol rejected a second request by India to issue such a notice against the Gurpat Gurpatwant Singh Panan, whom the Union Ministry of Home Affairs has listed as a terrorist. The agency said that the India has failed to provide sufficient information to support its case, and that his activities have a clear political dimension. It is the notice system prone to misuse, although Interpol's constitution explicitly forbids any activities of political characters. Activities activists have accused of it of failing to enforce this rule. Much of this outrage is directed at Russia, which has repeatedly issued notices and diffusions for the arrest of Kremlin opponents. According to the U.S. rights organization Freedom House, Russia is responsible for 38% of the public red notices. International human rights groups have also accused China, Iran, Turkey, and Tunisia, among others, of abusing the agency's notice system for authoritarian ends. In response to the mounting criticism, Interpol toughened the oversight of its red notice system. However, vulnerability remain when it comes to insurance of blur blue notices within experts flagging that such notices are less likely to be reviewed before publication. The agency data shows that blur notices have roughly doubled in number over the past decade, but countries like Turkey argue that such restraint in the issuance of notices hamper police cooperation and that the West should not interfere with their internal affairs. So friends, this is all for today, and we will meet from tomorrow onwards with a new news article from the Hindu newspaper which are relevant from UPSC perspectives. So till then, keep studying. Have a nice day and thanks for listening.